This is going to be a very fun podcast because I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Amy Chang. She is a beauty and skincare and anti-aging influencer who has traveled overseas to undergo all these treatments and to basically act as our guinea pig, your and my guinea pig. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about a number of different treatments that she has undergone, treatments, some of them that aren't available here in the United States, like Regeron salmon sperm injections, ultra cool injections. She underwent stem cell injections under her eyes and a bunch of other cosmetic treatments that you may or may not heard of. So she's going to share with us her experience with these treatments, what skincare line and products that she is using today, as well as her skincare routine, and a whole lot more. So let me introduce Amy Chang. Amy Chang is a beauty and wellness expert with over 2 million followers across TikTok and Instagram. Amy has become a trusted voice in the industry by blending deep research, personal experience, and a passion for aesthetics. Now, she has traveled the world learning from top specialists and trying the most advanced products and treatments, all to help her audience make smart, empowered choices and beauty and wellness. So she recently made a trip to Seoul, Korea, and underwent 7 cosmetic treatments in one day. She's going to tell us about these cosmetic treatments, what they did for her, and she's also planning to go back as well in the near future to get more treatments done. So this is a little bit of a departure because this is somebody who is an influencer who basically is undergoing these treatments. She's not a doctor necessarily, although she speaks like one, but we're going to get her firsthand account of what it's like to get some of these treatments done, as well as other treatments as well. So let me introduce my guest this week, Amy Chang. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me today, Amy.
I'm so excited to be here, Dr. Youn. Good to see you.
So call me Tony. So let's get started by asking you about your story. So as of this recording, you are one of social media's most prominent, beauty and anti-aging influencers. Can you tell us how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, well, it happened kind of by accident. I mean, when I started creating content, I didn't realize at that time that this could be a career, that this was something I could make money from. I didn't have any intention with where it was going. It really stemmed from this deep passion for beauty, but also to solve a lot of skin, hair, and wellness issues that I was dealing with at the time. I mean, I'm nearing 40, and when I was in my late teens, about 19, 20, I was dealing with acne and I wasn't getting the right care and the right help that I needed. The dermatologist that I saw at the time put me on doxycycline for my acne and had me on doxycycline for years. And this messed up my gut health. And it was a crutch that didn't get to the root issue of what was going on with my skin. But I, at the time, was not an informed patient and I was not advocating for myself and I wasn't going out there and doing the reading that I needed to do to understand what was happening with my body and my skin. And it led me down this path of, oh, I need to be informed. I need to understand the skincare, the ingredients. I need to understand these treatments that I'm going in and having done because I can't just blindly follow the medical professionals that I was going to because as you know, as a medical professional, it's really a partnership between the patient and the doctor working together to get the best outcome. And at the time, I was just very young and inexperienced. And so it led me down this path that was, over a decade in the making of searching out answers for what I was going through. And so I wanted a place to document everything I was going through. So I started a blog purely as a passion project. And I was reaching out to prominent plastic surgeons such as yourself. I was reaching out to dermatologists and estheticians and interviewing them, cosmetic chemists, and just asking them all my questions like, hey, explain these treatments to me. And then I would write about it on my blog. And from there, these women started reaching out to me and asking me questions or telling me that they too were going through something similar that I was going through. And I was able to build this really beautiful community that I'm so proud and happy to be a part of. Just as much as my community leans on me, I lean on them too. And we go through our beauty journeys together.
So is being basically a beauty and anti-aging influencer basically like your full-time job now?
Yeah, it's become a career. I mean, I thought that I would be a stay-at-home mom, that this would just be a passion project, but now
Hmm.
I get to work with brands that I'm fiercely passionate about. I get access to these incredible treatments, top plastic surgeons and, dermatologists from in LA and New York, and it's really exciting and wonderful things that I find interesting. I get to explore and share and bring to my audience.
I mean, that's pretty crazy when you think about it. I mean, how many people who are your age and if you said, oh, your job is going to be to undergo anti-aging treatments and you're going to get paid for it. You'll have companies that will actually pay you to get treatments done and test them out and all of that. We're not talking surgery here. We're talking non-invasive, minimally invasive things. Is this ever something that you thought, as a child, like, oh yeah, maybe someday I'm gonna look younger for a job, for my actual occupation. I mean, it seems like something that a lot of people would love to have, but at the same time, I mean, how attainable is something like that? I mean, are there a lot of people that are in kind of your situation, or do you feel like you're a bit of a, you know, nomad wandering in this desert where you're one of the few people that can actually, pull this off?
Well, first off, I feel incredibly grateful that I get to have what I feel is the best job in the world. I wake up every day really excited to continue learning and trying these treatments. And I feel so grateful, but it falls in line with that ethos of follow your passion, follow what you feel, get excited to do every single day. And then the money, the career, that just will follow along with it. So I feel really grateful that I get to do something that I am fiercely passionate about and love. And there are other content creators in the space who talk about similar topics. So it's not just me. I feel really excited to be with a whole cohort of other influencers that dive deep into beauty and anti-aging.
So before we get into the cosmetic treatments, I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this because they're going to wonder, okay, what did she get done in Korea and all this stuff? I'd like to talk about some general changes in lifestyle and things like that that you've done recently. One thing is that there is a trend online for people to stop drinking alcohol, and they're realizing that the negative effects of alcohol outweigh any positive potential effects with antioxidants and things like that. Can you tell us about your journey and your basically cutting out alcohol journey and how that has affected your health and specifically your skin?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, I did dry January just as a test. It was trending and I thought I would try it out. And what was 1 month turned out to be 6 months of no alcohol. And one of the biggest changes that I saw in my skin from doing that was I had less crepiness. My skin was more hydrated. It looked plumper. I didn't realize that my skin was so dehydrated and sallow from drinking just a couple of glasses of wine on the weekends, but that the cumulative effects of that were impacting me. So I will never say that I'm never going to drink alcohol ever again because I feel like that doesn't provide space for grace and it's just too restrictive. There are times where I'm on vacation and I'm by the beach and maybe I want to have a sip of a margarita, or it's New Year's Eve and I want to have a little bit of champagne. So I allow myself to have that. So it's not so restrictive, but I say I avoid alcohol as much as possible. So instead of drinking 2 to 3 cocktails or glasses of wine on the weekends, I now drink one glass of wine every 2, 3 months, every 3 months. And it works really well for me. I think part of it is being empowered with the information of what it's doing to my body, and that I saw firsthand the dramatic improvements in my skin, my hair, my energy levels, my mental clarity. Like my memory is so much better now because I'm sleeping better at night, and it just it just has improved things dramatically for me. But it also goes hand in hand with mental health too, because what I didn't realize at the time when I was drinking alcohol, and not excessively, but I was using it as a soothing mechanism. Like if I was feeling anxious at the end of a long work day, I would have a glass of wine. Or I have social anxiety that I'm working on. And whenever I would go out, I would feel that urge like, oh, I need to have a cocktail to kind of take that edge off right now. But now that I avoid alcohol, it's made me face those deeper emotional feelings and have to face it and say, okay, what am I feeling? What can I do that's healthier to help me move through those moments and not rely on alcohol? So before I go to social engagements or events, I do visualization for about 10 minutes and I just imagine it going well. And I try to relax my body and do breathing exercises to feel more confident moving in those spaces and not needing alcohol.
How do you recommend that people deal with, I think, if somebody's going to do that, the inevitable anxiety that they'll feel that they go out with their friends, everybody else is drinking, and they decide they're not going to. How did you deal with that? And do you have any recommendations for somebody who says, hey, you know what, I think I want to do that, but how are my friends going to react to it when I'm the one who's not drinking?
Yeah, so I microdose. I use mocktails. I do CBD. Sometimes, if I go out with friends, it's legal here in California. I'll take a THC CBD gummy. So I get like a little bit of that buzz and can be on that level. But that's rare. I mean, most of the time, I'll just have a mocktail and it itches that scratch of wanting to hold a drink, sip on something cold and refreshing, and I get to feel like I am a part of the group. So I lean on mocktails a lot. And there's some really great ones out there. And now, they have these non-alcoholic mixers available at bars and they'll make some great mocktails.
I think more and more bars are doing that. I've been seeing that. My wife too. She too. She went through menopause and realized that, geez, even if she has half a glass of wine, it really impacts her sleep at night. And so she's been a big fan of the mocktails and trying them. And a lot of them, I mean, they taste great. And just like you said, I think that there's that fear that you're going to be the one left out, that people look at you and like, oh, you're drinking water or whatever. And we don't want, there's some of us who love attention that way, but I think the vast majority of us don't want necessarily that attention. We want to kind of fit in and not have people paying attention to what we're eating or drinking necessarily. And I think, like you said, the mocktails are a great way to kind of bypass that and not worry so much. Another change that you made recently is that you've been very upfront that you've gone through perimenopause, and you had a lot of changes in your body with that, as far as brain fog and things like that. And one of the big changes that you made in your life was hormone replacement therapy, specifically with progesterone. Can you tell us about that and how that has impacted your body?
Dr. Youn, it's been life changing. I can't, and it's still, I'm in the early phase of it. It's been about 3, 4 months with it. But towards the end of last year, I started having this intense fatigue that was chronic. No matter how much sleep I was getting or taking naps, I had intense brain fog. I had irregular periods. I was waking up multiple times throughout the night. I was like, something is really off here. So I went to see my OB-GYN and we did some hormone panels. And when you're doing hormone testing, you have to test at specific windows during a woman's cycle because the hormone levels change throughout the menstrual cycle. So, there was a specific time we had to test the estradiol, and then another month we did testing for progesterone. And after doing various testing, then my doctor was like, okay, you have estrogen dominance and you have very low progesterone. So let's talk about hormone replacement therapy. And I'm very open to it. I was like, let's try it out. I'm doing bioidentical progesterone, which is natural form of the progesterone, which has lower risks than doing the synthetic progesterone. So I feel really good about it. We're doing it in a safe way. And like, I sleep well at night. My libido's off the charts. I don't know if that's TMI, Dr. Youn, but my energy levels, mental clarity, like I feel like myself again. It really has been wonderful. I don't know if your wife this is something that she's been exploring as well, but I feel incredible. And so anytime I go through anything, whether it's with my skin or my hair or internally, because wellness is beauty, I share that with my audience, and just countless women have been talking to me about how this is something that's not talked about enough. And yeah, I was just really happy to share my experience with them.
How long did it take for you to feel those changes and see those changes with the progesterone?
It was by month 2. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it took a little time, but not too bad. And another change that you've made recently that you've been talking about on social media is that you've been doing NAD supplementation. This is a very hot topic in alternative medicine today and anti-aging medicine. Can you tell us a bit about NAD supplementation for those people who maybe have heard a little bit about it or haven't heard about it at all? What is it? How did you do the supplementation, and what type of changes did you see?
Yeah, so NAD is trending right now because longevity is the big hot term. And NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. That's mouthful, but it's a coenzyme that really helps support mitochondria functioning. Mitochondria are our cells' batteries. It helps with cellular energy and getting rid of senescent cells. And so I started exploring this area because anytime there's something new and interesting in beauty and wellness, I love being a guinea pig. I love trying things out and bringing back to my audience. But I started testing out the supplements first. And there's some debate around them, whether, how bioavailable they are and can they get past, the stomach acids and actually get absorbed and be effective. But there are ones that I've been trying. I really like this brand Timeline. They're a Swiss biotech company. They've been doing research in this space for the past 20 years. And so the supplements are either NAD precursors or it's a compound. And this is a compound called urolithin A, which is derived from pomegranates. And it helps to stimulate your body's production of NAD. And I've been noticing just increases in energy, mental clarity, not having that fatigued slump in the afternoon. And I've been really happy with supplementing with that one. The thing is, I want people to know you don't need to supplement with NAD. Like, there are natural ways that you can increase your NAD. You can fast, you can exercise. But I think the reason why this is trending and supplementation has become so big is because for the majority of our country, people are living sedentary lives. Perhaps they're not able to fast or whatnot. They're eating an unhealthy diet. And so this is an alternative that's there as an option, but it's not something that everyone needs to do.
So have you tried other methods of NAD? Several months ago, Hailey Bieber and Kendall Jenner were on the Kardashians and they were getting IV NAD. Have you tried any of the IV versions of it? And did you see any difference in how that impacted you versus the oral urolithin?
Yeah, so I've tried the injections and I've tried the IVs. With the IVs, I did the precursor NR, and
Mm-hmm.
it did give me that energy boost throughout the month. The thing that I found was a little bit prohibitive with it is that it's incredibly expensive. It was
Mm-hmm.
$1,500 to do the IV. Also,
Oh,
it was
wow.
time consuming to go there, go to a medical office, and you have to do the IV. It was an hour and a half. Whereas doing the injections at home, I found I had similar benefits, but I wasn't having to deal with the prohibitive cost and the time since I could just easily do it at home. But again, with this, you need a prescription, whereas the supplements, you don't need a prescription.
Yeah, so I mean, I have tried NR. There was a company that sent some of it to me, and I did it for a couple of months. And I was actually talking to a podcaster who I think she actually at one point did some promotional posts for them.
Mhm.
And she gave me, I think, one of her bottles of it too. And it was the same company. Like they reached out to me, she gave it to me, and this and that. And I tried it for a couple of months, and honestly, I didn't feel any different. And
Mhm.
I actually asked her. I said, "You've been taking this for a few months, right?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, What do you feel from it?" And she said nothing. So I'm like,
She's
oh, okay. I mean, there's the idea that you're going to get more longevity, but yeah,
yeah.
just like you said, the idea behind NAD supplementation is it
Mhm.
should hopefully increase your energy production.
Yeah.
And so you should feel energy from it. I never really did, but maybe it's just the version of it. I definitely would be interested in trying the Timeline one as well. My main issue with the IV NAD, and I didn't know it was expensive as what you're saying, but maybe it could also be location wise too, kind of where you get it at, is the fact that it's a minimally invasive, but still an invasive
Mhm.
procedure. You're getting an IV, you're creating scarring, of the vein that they're injecting it to. And that's where I always wonder is that, if you're doing a treatment that's not necessary, you're scarring a vein, and you do that over and over and over again, eventually is that vein going to be so scarred that it's unusable to put an IV in later, maybe when you're actually older and sick and you need it. And that's for
Right.
me one of my big things against IV therapy is that are we potentially damaging our body, in this minor way, but eventually that could be potentially harmful to us in the future. And so for me, I'm all about, hey, you know what, oral supplementation, try it, see it. I'm definitely interested because the fact that you've had a nice
Yeah.
uh, change from it. But yeah, I mean that was my experience. It was just the one. It was an NR precursor that I tried.
There are two brands out there that I think are really leading the
Hmm.
pack. I don't know about the others, but it's
Hmm.
Timeline and Elysium. So Timeline, I
Hmm.
said, is that Swiss biotech company that's been doing research for the past 20 years, and they've been doing, human clinical studies. And
Yeah.
Elysium, that company, they have 7 Nobel laureates on their board. Like it's just
Mm.
really robust human clinicals that they're doing. And so I'd say if you're going to go the supplementation route, I would go with one of those two.
Yeah, makes sense. So you made a recent trip a few months ago to Korea, South Korea,
Yeah.
and this is kind of a dream trip for any anti-aging or beauty influencer because you did undergo, I think, 7 treatments while you were there.
7. Yeah.
So this is one reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast because you acted basically as our guinea pig
I
to
don't
go to
mind.
Korea and have some treatments. Some of these are probably available here in the United States, but some of them definitely are not. Can you tell us what these 7 treatments are? And then we're going to talk about a couple of these that we don't have available here in the United States yet and what your experience is with them. So what were the 7 treatments that you had?
Yeah, so I had Regeneron injections done, which are the polynucleotides, the salmon and trout DNA, also called salmon
Hmm.
sperm. I had Ultra Cool done, which is liquid PDO. I had Bizarin done, which is a hyaluronic acid skin booster. I had PRF injected. I did skin Botox, which this one I thought was interesting because unlike here in the US where they'll treat, okay, if you have, some forehead lines or some lines here and they'll just treat that. This specific doctor I went to, she watched me talk and make facial expressions for about 10 minutes from
Hmm.
different angles. And then she made little tiny minor tweaks all over to adjust how I make facial expressions. Because
Oh,
she was saying,
interesting.
she was like, when you sometimes like subconsciously you'll have like a little downward turn of one corner, or maybe one eyebrow raises a little more than the other, or maybe when you
Hmm.
smile, you have more squinting on this side. So she did little tweaks all over. And
Oh,
I mean, I
interesting.
thought it was really fascinating. She wouldn't let me film anything because she's like, these are my proprietary techniques. And this doctor I
Hmm.
went to is really known for her hand skill. But so I did that, the skin Botox, and then I did a medical grade version of the VT Cosmetics Riedel shot. It was just
Okay.
a really high level of the spicules for liquid microneedling. And then on top of that, she applied exosomes.
Okay. So let's talk about the first one you mentioned, Regeneron.
Mhm.
Regeneron is a company that I'm well aware of. They are kind of the leaders in the uh, polydeoxyribonucleotide treatment, which are the salmon DNA facials. I think this was made big not that long ago by Kim Kardashian, if I remember right. Went and had the salmon DNA facial done, and so everybody started talking about it. Can you tell us what this treatment is and what your experience with it was?
Yeah, it's incredibly painful, but it was really wonderful. So they do injections into the dermis all over, and so it's not like other injections where they just do one or two and then they allow the material to spread. With the Regeneron, they're doing 20, 30 injections into the dermis all over your
Oh,
face.
wow.
So it is incredibly painful. And like I have a high pain tolerance.
Did they numb you at all?
They did. They did do
Okay.
numbing, but she offered to put me to sleep, but I didn't feel comfortable doing that.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's something that's common in Korea when they're doing stacking a lot of these treatments.
Hmm.
So incredibly painful, but it stimulates the production of collagen. It really smoothed out texture. I had a few like surface, very light acne scarring that it helped to smooth out. I had an overall glow from all of that collagen. It was really wonderful. I'm going back to Korea
Hmm.
next month and I'm going to have it done again. But with a
Hmm.
lot of these, like with a lot of these treatments, you have to do them multiple times. And I was only
Hmm.
able to do it one time since I was visiting in February. But I loved it.
So Regeneron is considered a biostimulator.
Mhm.
And when we talk about biostimulators, a lot of people think, okay, what exactly is that? And what it is a substance that stimulates your body to create, to create collagen, for example, to essentially do something. So that's why a biostimulator stimulates your body to do something. And this is different
Mhm.
than, let's say, a hyaluronic acid filler like Restylane or Juvederm, where it's more inert, where you just inject it and it just sits there until your body gradually dissolves it away. With biostimulators, the idea is that it stimulates your body to do something. And when we're looking at anti-aging treatments like Regeneron, the idea is it stimulates your body to create collagen. you noticed that your skin improved from the treatment. How long did it take for you to notice that? And how long have those results lasted?
Yeah, so I looked at my skin before and then 3 months after. I feel like three
Hmm.
months is kind of that sweet spot of like your body's had enough time to produce collagen. And it's now been 6 months, and I feel like the results are still there. My skin looks nice and smooth, and I'm very happy with the results. But now it's time to go back to Korea again.
So this treatment is not FDA approved here in the United States, although
Mhm.
Regeron technically is allowed for use on a topical basis. So there are some places where they are applying Regeron onto the skin and then microneedling it
Mhm.
into the skin, which is kind of like, is it legal? Is it not? It's kind of a gray area. Because it's not legal to inject it, but if you're microneedling it, you're kind of pushing it into the skin. You're not technically injecting it, or
Mhm.
are you? Have you had this type of a treatment, or have you talked to anybody who's had that done at all?
No, I haven't tried that yet, but I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, that's what I know is available here in the US.
Mhm.
Although I think what we're all waiting for is for the FDA to actually approve Regeron and to be able to
Yeah.
actually inject it. It's also available as a topical. And I think that's kind of the best that we have here in the US right now. Is that something that you took home with you as well? Did you take any of that to treat your skin?
Oh yeah, I definitely stocked up on PDRN products here. But there are now a lot of these Korean brands and PDRN products are available here in the US. Like we're seeing this huge wave of them launching.
Hmm.
Like Beauty of Joseon just launched in Sephora. Ulta has a
Hmm.
whole bunch of Korean beauty brands that are launching there, including BT Cosmetics. And so, I'm able to access it here now.
Another treatment that you underwent was Ultra Cool. Can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah, Ultra Cruel is fantastic. It came out just a few years ago, 2022, I believe, and it
Hmm.
was created by this Korean biotech company called Ultra V in conjunction with the University of Seoul. And it's basically they took PDO, polydioxanone, which is what they make dissolvable sutures out of, and they
Hmm.
made a liquid form of it. So it's a powder, and then they reconstitute it and they inject it into different areas like the temples, below the eyes, in the laugh lines here to stimulate the production of collagen and really help with like facial balancing and giving that glow to the skin. I saw some pretty incredible results from that one. I'm a big fan of Sculptra. I've been,
Hmm.
very vocal about that, and I've had it done here in the US. This, as it was explained to me by the Korean doctor that I saw, is like that next advancement beyond that, because the PDO, it stimulates the production of type 1 and type 3 collagen, whereas Sculptra predominantly stimulates the production of type 1 collagen. So you're going to get better results. But my skin just had this overall like glow. I saw a little bit of slight lifting in the mid face when it was
Hmm.
because it was placed underneath my eyes and then the temples. And I just really loved the results that I saw from that one. And it's really natural compared to something like hyaluronic acid fillers, which I have done in the past, but the past couple of years I've moved away from doing hyaluronic acid injections in my face because no matter going to the most expert injector, it just never 100% looked natural to me. Like
Hmm.
there were times I would see myself in certain lighting, in certain photos, and I could kind of see where the hyaluronic acid filler was placed. Maybe not to the common eye, but to myself, I could kind of see it. And so, what I like about the biostimulators is that because it spreads out and because it's stimulating the production of your body's own collagen, it just looks more seamless and integrated than hyaluronic acid fillers.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a trend towards these biostimulators. Did they explain? I mean, so it sounds like Regeron was a biostimulator to create more collagen closer to the surface for
Yes.
more of like a hydration type of a thing and thickening of the skin. Whereas, would you say Ultra Cool is more of a structural kind of filler, like with Sculptra? When they first came out with Sculptra, and I've been doing it for 20 years now,
Mhm.
they recommended that we inject it into the dermis of the skin. And unfortunately, it was too superficial and it could create lumps. And fairly shortly after that, we realized that the ideal place to inject it is deep, to essentially create kind of architecture of your
Mhm.
tissue. So to add fullness and to create that kind of architecture and reshaping, is that kind of how they described it to you of the difference between the two biostimulators? Is that one is going to create, I guess, more fullness, and then the other one is going to be more like kind of hydration and thickness of the skin?
Yes. And so when she explained to me about these 7 treatments, it was about tackling every single layer. So the
Mm.
ultra cool was going down to that deep layer to create the structures. You were saying the Regeron was to be injected in that mid layer and then topically through the liquid microneedling were the exosomes. And then she did inject PRP as well. So she really
Hmm.
hit every single layer, which is why I feel
Wow.
I got like a great result from it, even though I only did these treatments once.
That's interesting. It's a true stacking of these treatments where you're focusing on every single layer. How long did all these 7 treatments take then? I mean, were you there like all day?
I was there for 5 hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
the place that I went to, it's a private dermatology clinic. And, they only have one treatment room. And so I was the only person there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's it was a really incredible experience. I was referred to them by a friend of mine who owns a beauty brand and an entertainment company in Korea. So he's very tapped into the beauty
Hmm.
aesthetic space in Korea and gave me a referral to go to this clinic. And the dermatologist that I saw, so she spent, I don't know, 45 minutes with me,
Wow.
going through the consultation. And then after that, she left and they did the pre skin treatment, which was about 30, 40 minutes or so, where they gave me a facial. And
Mm.
then I went to the upstairs level where she had her treatment room and they did the 7 treatments. Then I came back down to the consultation room and they did a facial for post care after, and then lymphatic drainage.
Oh
And
my
they,
God.
and then they also she prescribed me medications and supplements that they went and picked up at a pharmacy and brought back for me to protect my veins, to help with bruising, and they walked
Wow.
me through skincare. So it was really this like 360 holistic approach to, the pre and the post care that I'd never experienced before.
And I need to ask you, because I know people are going to wonder, is this something that you had to pay full price for? If it is, like, what's the cost of something like that to an average person? Were you fortunate as a beauty influencer that you could get that comped? Like, how did that work out for those people who are listening and they're wondering, well, geez, I wouldn't mind taking a trip to Korea. How much would it cost me to do something like that?
Yeah, so I always go in with the intent of I'm paying for this service because I will not accept something in exchange for posting about it because I will, I don't know if the experience is going to be good or not. I don't know what the result is going to look like. So I went in saying, okay, happy to pay for this treatment. Went in and they were really kind and gifted it to me at the end. It was a nice, happy surprise, but it would have cost me about $3,000. Whereas, the treatments here in the US, if you were to do them out, I'd cost it out would be, anywhere from $12 to $16,000, depending on how many vials of Sculptra and the like.
Dang. Well, that's great. So now that, how many months has it been since you've been back?
It's been 6 months.
Okay. And are you planning to go basically have the exact same thing done again?
I'm going to try out a couple different treatments this time.
Hmm.
I won't say yet. You guys will have to follow the content, but I'm going to Korea next month and I'm going to try a couple different things, specifically for melasma.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, one treatment that you have undergone here in the States, however, or I know not in Korea, that's definitely cutting edge, is stem cell treatment. So you underwent stem cell injections under your eyes. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so stem cells are undifferentiated cells, and I had stem cells injected that were sourced from, pharmaceutical company that they're umbilical stem cells. Because you can get stem cells from your own stem cells. Like a friend of mine went to Korea and they did liposuction and then harvested the stem cells from her fat and she had it re-injected back into her face. But so it was umbilical stem cells and they injected it below my eyes. And what the stem cells do is they basically go to anywhere where they're needed and they replace damaged old cells. And it created like a smoothing effect. And I also noticed lifting in this little mid face area here. But I really love that treatment. I have a friend of mine who has done it regularly, and she looks incredible. I went to a place here in LA, but the first experience was really great. The second experience I had with them was horrible. So I actually don't recommend them anymore, but I've been trying to find another place to have that done at.
So when you went in to get the stem cell treatment under your eyes, what was your indication? Like, what did you want to treat with those stem cells?
Yeah, I was just looking to kind of smooth out below the eye and just help with some dark circles.
And did you go in with the express plan to do stem cell therapy, or did
No,
they recommend that to you?
they recommended it to me. I didn't even realize that that was something that was offered. I had never heard of that before. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's not something that you hear a lot about here in the
Mhm.
States. There's definitely questions about it legality wise.
Yeah.
I did have a doctor on the podcast a few months ago, Dr. Amy Chang, and she does some stem cell therapy. I was always under the impression that like exosome stem cells, it was illegal here in the U.S. to inject them unless you're in an FDA approved study. But apparently, that's not necessarily the case. I think the the actual truth, to my knowledge, is that it's illegal to advertise stem cell reduction or stem cell treatments, and especially to advertise them as curative for diseases, but it's still legal to perform it. So there's kind of
It's a
like
gray
that,
area. It's
yeah, a bit of
definitely
a
a gray
gray area.
area. Yeah.
Interesting. Did they recommend stem cell therapy for anything else other than just under your eyes?
No, no. Yeah,
So,
but I've,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So you've undergone a lot of cosmetic treatments. We're just kind of touching the surface of some of the ones that you've done recently. What are some cosmetic treatments that you have done in the past that you have been really, really happy with that we haven't talked about here today?
Mm, I mean, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Fraxel. I dealt with a lot of acne scarring on my temples and my cheeks, and Fraxel was amazing at helping to smooth out that scarring, and it's something I still
Mhm.
recommend.
And are there any other treatments that you've had done that you have been really, really happy with that you would continue or that you would encourage your followers to continue?
I mean, I love Sculptra. Yeah, I love Sculptra. Big fan of it. It's what I do here in the US. What else? I like, PRF below the eyes. That's great. The thing is that it's short-lived. You have to do a lot of treatments. You got to do at least like three to see like a result below the eyes. What else? I
Quick
mean,
question with the
yeah.
PRF. So, for those people who are listening, PRF, platelet rich fibrin, which is similar to PRP, platelet rich plasma, but the idea is it's a bit of a thicker substance. And some doctors are using it as a filler under the eyes, which PRP definitely is not. How would you compare your experience with PRF injections under your eyes versus a stem cell therapy treatment?
Yeah, so the PRF, I would say what I saw after three, four treatments with PRF was one treatment with stem cells.
Mm. And have you ever had injections of like hyaluronic acid, like Restylane under your eyes?
I think I had once a little bit of Juvederm left. Like I've done
Hmm.
hyaluronic acid in my lips, and so there was a little bit left in the syringe. So they did like a drop, but that
Hmm.
was it. A
Okay, so
long
you don't
time
have.
ago, years ago.
Okay,
No.
okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of doctors now they're leaning towards PRF, but I think the exact issue is what you said: is that they're saying, okay, you have to undergo once a month treatments for many months in a row to even see a result from it. Each of those PRF treatments can be pretty expensive, $1,000 or more. Versus you go in and let's say you have a little bit of Restylane injected under your eyes, you do half a syringe on each side. That treatment costs probably less than $1,000 total, and then you don't have to do it again for a year or longer. So I wonder if PRF, it's kind of, I wonder if that's something for people who are more enthusiasts with anti-aging treatments like yourself. It's like, okay, I'll go back in a month, get more injections versus people who maybe aren't and they're more casual. And for them to be like, okay, once a month for how many months I'm going to get needles under my eyes? Let's just do a little bit of Restylane. That I do wonder.
It's not a one size fits all. For
Yeah.
everyone's lifestyle and budget, they have to find what works for them. But I'm more of just exploring what's out there, and then people can kind of pick and choose and take from it what works for them and leave the rest.
What are some treatments that you've undergone that you have regretted or that you feel just really wasn't worth the money?
Yeah. So the biggest one would be Botox masseter injections. I did
Oh,
that
interesting.
before my wedding, and the injector I saw did it was just too aggressive. It was too many units. It was 30
Hmm.
units,
Oh,
every
yeah.
3 months, 3 times. And I atrophied just completely the lower half of my face. And
Hmm.
what I didn't realize at the time, I was 27 when this happened, 26. And was that how not only did it affect the lower third of my face, it affected the upper portion of my face because there was no tension here once all
Hmm.
that volume loss was gone. And so I started to have droopy, sagging eyelids. My brows started to sag because there was no tension to make the skin taut. If the tissues, it's like a tent tarp, and underneath the tent poles giving it structures, the muscle and the bone and the fat. If any of that is missing, then the tent kind of collapses in certain areas.
Oh, wow. And the good thing about that, at least, is that it wears off after a while and
Yeah.
things come back. Did you have any further injections after that, or if you just let those masters grow right back to where they were before?
I mean, never in my life have I been so happy that I grind my teeth at night because it helped to build back up my masseter muscle. Yeah. So, but it took years to build back up.
Well, you have beautiful skin, and we've talked today about a lot of different treatments that you have undergone that I'm sure has helped with that. But I think even more important with having beautiful skin is your skincare routine. So, can you tell us what your morning and evening skincare routines are?
Yeah, so because I'm a beauty content creator, the products are changing. I swap out different cleansers, different moisturizers, but there are these three products that really make up kind of the core of my routine. And the first
Hmm.
one has been this product that just blew me away. I mean, it was the product that I said wow to, and I said, and it has been a while since I said wow. It's this liquid microneedling product by this Korean brand. It's called the Riedel Shot by VT
Hmm.
Cosmetics. I don't know if you've tried it, Dr. Youn, but it contains those spicules that are derived from the
Hmm.
marine sponges that create these open channels, allowing whatever you apply on top of it to penetrate deeper. So I do that because it's physical exfoliation and it stimulates
Hmm.
collagen. And then on top of that, I do my two anti-aging serums, which one is a growth factor serum. Then the second one is copper peptides, which have anti-inflammatory benefits to them and also antioxidant properties.
Have you ever tried retinols?
I have, but it doesn't work with my lifestyle. I think part of it is that
Hmm.
I'm doing a lot of in-office treatments and I have fairly sensitive skin. And so every time that because when I do an in-office treatment, it's like you got to get off of it for a week pre, and then you got to wait, get off of it a few weeks. So
Yeah.
I never could get into a good rhythm with it.
So your main anti-aging actives are going to be the growth factors and the copper peptides. Can you
Mhm.
tell my audience what those products do for your skin?
Yeah, so the growth factors, I use the Allies of Skin Growth Factor Serum, and it has helped to smooth out fine lines. It just helps to make my skin, it kind of gives it this like youthful glow because it's helping to
Hmm.
stimulate collagen. The copper tripeptide serum, I absolutely love. It's also from Allies of Skin. This is a Singaporean brand that I love. And like I said before, it has antioxidant properties to it and it has anti inflammatory properties. So I've noticed over the years that my melasma is triggered by inflammation more so than heat, like it is for other
Hmm.
people. And so anytime I can do things to reduce inflammation in my skin, in my body, my melasma gets better. So I'm like a diehard, dedicated fan of the copper tripeptide serum.
What have you done for the melasma specifically? Have you ever tried like tranexamic acid or laser treatments or brightening creams and stuff like that?
Yeah, oh man, I've tried so much. I've tried hydroquinone, I've done Clear and Brilliant, I've tried chemical peels, all these different things. And out of everything, I would say what's worked the best for me has been PicoSure laser. So it
Mm.
uses these acoustic sound pulses to shatter the pigmentation. And then your immune system, your white blood cells go in there like little Pac-Man and they pick up the broken, damaged cells and then clear them away. And that has been incredible. So I do a few sessions of that every year, and it really helps to dramatically get rid of the pigmentation. And then I just focus on an anti-inflammatory diet and doing things in my life like walking, getting good night's rest, things, supplementing with vitamin D, things that can help with inflammation.
And one treatment that you've undergone recently that I was like, no, I can't believe you did that, is that you finally convinced your husband to be okay with, and it's your body, so you do what you want to do, obviously. I'm
Mhm.
sure your husband's just a beautiful guy, but you got veneers.
Yes.
And I just want to give you my background with it, just for your knowledge of kind of where I'm coming from and why I saw this. And I was like, oh, so I grew up in a traditional Korean family. My jaw got really, really big. I had braces for like 10 years. I had my jaw broken, set back, wired shut for 6 weeks. And then I had braces for years after that. Fast forward. So my parents put like so much money into my teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
Fast forward to literally 10 years ago, I'm at the dentist just getting a normal cleaning. And I asked my dentist, oh, you've got this special on this teeth whitening thing. Can I maybe do that? And she looks at me, she goes, let's talk about caps. And at the time, I didn't know what that meant. Later on, I said, oh, maybe I'm just going to do the whitening. I'm not really interested, in doing a whole lot. The caps just didn't sound right. Now I realize that when you get caps, they literally shave your teeth down into little nubbins and then they put caps over them. And the thought about that, of doing that to my teeth, is just like horrifying, because my parents and I put so much work into my teeth when I was younger. The veneers aren't the same as caps, but you do have to alter your teeth a little bit. Why did you decide to get veneers, and what did it do for you? And are you happy that you did it?
Yes. So I've been thinking about getting veneers for the past 10 years. As I mentioned earlier, I have TMJ. I grind my teeth at night. I used to go to raves when I was, 19, 20. So I lost a lot of height with my teeth from the grinding
Really?
because I wasn't wearing a night guard at the time. And generally with just aging over time from clenching and some grinding, we do lose height with our teeth. It's something that I've been looking into for the past 10 years, but the cost felt prohibitive. I was like, I don't know if this is right. Similar to yourself, I was very afraid about, the teeth shaving. And you see these horrified find pictures online of people with
Yeah,
these
people go
little
to
tiny
Turkey and
nubs. Yeah. But so when I met Dr. Marashi, who's the cosmetic dentist that I went to, he's here in LA, and like Lindsay Lohan goes to him and Pink and like all these celebrities, I was like, I was like very apprehensive. I don't know about this. Let me just explore it, because a friend of mine had her veneers done there. So when I was doing the consultation with him, I asked him, hey, what's the deal with shaving down the teeth? And he's like, it does not need to be done. But the reason why it happens is because when they place the veneers, let's say they place one on the front tooth and then they place it on the side tooth, they have to make sure that the measurement, there's enough space to place the tooth on so that the tooth doesn't stick out from the rest of the teeth, that they all fall in line nicely. But that requires meticulous measurements to make sure that you're only shaving down a little millimeter here, half a millimeter there on each tooth so that it perfectly fits together. And what ends up happening, as Dr. Mashi explained to me, is that a lot of, not a lot, but some inexperienced cosmetic dentists are not doing those meticulous measurements. And so they'll just say, oh, you know what? To make sure that there's enough room when I place the veneers, I'm just going to shave them all down so that
Yeah.
I know for sure that there's enough room to place them and that they'll all be fine. Dr. Marashi is very meticulous. What should have taken, 6 weeks to 2 months took us 4.5, almost 5 months, because he's such a
Oh, wow.
perfectionist. And he did these little measurements so that he was only shaving down on some teeth half a millimeter. And a couple of other teeth, he didn't even have to shave down anything at all, because we were trying to build up that height from those teeth. So I was really happy about that. And he also explained that, when the underlying tooth underneath the veneer gets shaved down, it's reducing there's less strength there, because it's just that porcelain veneer that's on top. But when you have the strength of the tooth behind it, then you know it's stronger. I saw recently that Alex Earl, who has veneers on her front teeth, she did a video where she bit down on a straw and she cracked her front veneer.
Yeah.
And Dr. Mashi was saying that when that excessive shaving is done and there's,
Mhm.
the tooth integrity is compromised underneath the veneer, then you lose that strength. And that's when that happens. Like, thankfully, he did minimal on some teeth, almost no shaving whatsoever. And so I
Mhm.
have really strong teeth. Like, I eat almonds, I eat walnuts, I still eat corn on the cob, although I'm sure Dr. Marashi is going to listen to this and be like, well, you still shouldn't, Amy. But, the integrity of my teeth are there. But the reason why I decided to have them done is because, in addition to losing the lost height with my teeth, I've had a misaligned bite
Mm.
just over the past few years that has gotten incredibly uncomfortable. Before getting veneers, I would close my mouth and my back teeth would not touch. And so
Okay. You
it
had a bit of
I'd
an
have
open
to,
bite.
like, yes, I'd have to hold my jaw in place, and it just became incredibly uncomfortable throughout the
Mm.
day. So I was really happy that he was able to create the hills and valleys of my back teeth to create this nice lock in place so that when I close my mouth, it feels comfortable, which also
Oh,
then
that's
helps
good.
with the TMJ.
So we talked about a lot of treatments today.
Yeah.
And is there any one treatment that you are considering in the future that you're looking forward to, or that you're, maybe not right now, but eventually that you would want to have done that we haven't mentioned?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a facelift at some point.
That's not going to be for quite a long time, my friend.
I know, but actually, this is something I wanted to ask you about because I saw on TikTok that woman who went viral in Guadalajara. She was from the States. She went down to Guadalajara to get a facelift. She was in I think she was 55 or 60.
Well, she had a
And
lot more than a facelift, though, too. People have to realize she had
okay,
everything done. It's like upper and lower eyelids. She had a lip lift. She had, I think, fat
yeah.
grafting, a brow. It's like a lot. So it's not
And
just a facelift. But anyways, go on. Go
yes,
on.
but she looks incredible and she looks,
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 years younger now. But when I
Mm-hmm.
see that, I mean, it's such a dramatic before and after that I don't,
Mm-hmm.
for myself personally, I think I would have a bit of an identity crisis going through
Mm-hmm.
that dramatic of a before and after. And one day
Yeah.
you see one thing in the mirror, and then the next day you see something completely different. Like, my
Yeah.
approach has always been, I like slow
Yeah.
and, little micro changes every couple of months so that you don't really see a dramatic before and after. But then
Yeah.
when I show my audience, like, hey, here's where I was 5 years ago, they're like, oh, wait, that's a dramatic before and after.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to figure out when is the right time for a facelift then, because I don't want to wait too long so that it's dramatic, but I don't want to do it too soon.
So,
So,
yeah, a couple
yeah.
thoughts on that. You're too young to remember there was a show called Extreme Makeover back in the day where these quote unquote ugly ducklings would be taken under the wing of a plastic surgeon and dermatologists and dentists, cosmetic dentists, and all these people. And they would undergo this incredible makeover where they would look like a different person afterwards. And so, some people are saying, oh, well, you look at these changes that we're seeing in Kris Jenner and this other person from, had her surgery in Mexico, and like, wow, plastic surgery has gotten so much better because look, she looks like a different person. Not necessarily. Like, surgery doesn't change as much as people may think, because essentially what we're doing, technology can only change so much when you're using a scalpel to cut on somebody. There's nothing technological about a hand and a scalpel that changes, every 10 years or something. And what's going on, I think, with some of these people is that they're just undergoing a lot of surgery, and they are like, this woman right now is in a sweet spot. And I mentioned this with Kris Jenner, is that she's in a sweet spot of probably a couple months after surgery, where things are still a bit tight. She's still a little bit swollen. Things haven't settled completely yet. And you wait and see them in 6 months from now or a year from now, and she's going to look a lot more like she did prior to surgery. And I
Hmm,
bet you Kris Jenner, we're going to see the same thing, is that she's maybe
interesting.
2, maybe 3 months out of her facelift, and she's using a bunch of filters and stuff. I bet 6 months from now, she's going to look a lot more like the old Kris Jenner that we, know, because things will have actually settled and stuff. So, if you look at those results of Extreme Makeover, it's the same thing. They would show people 2 months after surgery, they lost a bunch of weight. A lot of people are on Ozempic nowadays. So you add that into it. And I think that there's this part of it's media driven. There's this belief that things are so much different, but in some ways they're not. It's just a lot of work done. And so to answer your question of like, you're a beauty enthusiast, you love getting these treatments. When should you do a facelift? The time in general you should do a facelift is when, and a facelift typically treats the lower face and the upper neck. It's for jowls and looseness of the neck. It's when you have so much laxity and looseness in this area with jowls, with loose skin, that the thought of spending God knows how much money, it depends on who does it, getting permanent scars in front of and behind your ears, that's a big deal, with the risk of complications like nerve injury, bleeding complications, and a couple of week recovery time, that all of that is not a big deal because, man, you've got so much that you don't like here that you've got to get rid of. And the big trade-off with a facelift is the scars. That's the main thing. Obviously, there's money and complications, but the big thing is the scars. And so that in and of itself is reason enough that a facelift for you is not going to be applicable for quite a long time because you look too good. You're Korean, right?
Korean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Asian don't raisin, so you're not going to need a facelift for a very long time. And it's not something where it's like, oh, I'll just get a mini lift and stuff. No, they still creates all those scars, and that's the big trade-off. And if there's no scars, then by all means, do it when you're 40. But when you've got those scars like that, that's the big trade-off.
So what age do you recommend?
So for me, if people have a lot of premature aging, then I would say early 50s. For premature aging. Otherwise, I think mid to late 50s. Anytime older than that is fine. I start getting a little nervous when people are in their mid 70s and older, just for aging purposes. And I do a lot of facelift. I did one yesterday. I do probably about one every week or two. But that's, the big thing is the trade-off of the scars.
I see. Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Amy Chang is very active on social media. You can follow her on Instagram. It's instagram.com/Amy Chang. On TikTok, she goes by the name Bondenavant. What is Bondenavant? I never knew what that was. And I thought your name was that for a while. And then I saw, no, your name's not Bondenavant. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's bond and avant, and it's French, and it's a fencing term, and it means to leap forward. And when I created my blog, I didn't want to put my name out there. I just wanted to be kind of anonymous. So I had my blog, and then
the TikTok. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll put the links to her TikTok and her Instagram on this podcast caption. Definitely follow her if you want to learn about the latest in cosmetic treatments. She is your guinea pig to undergo these treatments so that you don't have to, and you can see how it goes and pick the good things that she has coming out of it. I really want to thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Youn. This was so much fun. I feel like I could talk to you for hours about this stuff.
Well, same here. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, so much for joining me. I'm Dr. Anthony Youn. This is the Doctor Youn Show. And as always, remember to eat real food, use clean skincare, and auto-juvenate before you operate.